The tax terrain in the country is something that the average Nigerian is not that conversant with. Here on the Tax Talk, we take the time to break down tax administration with specific reference to the Center of Excellence, Lagos State. My name is Oyinlola Saleh, and you are now watching the Tax Talk. First up, business news. And when we get back, the show swings into full gear. Stay with us.
This is business news. To the delight of taxpayers in Lagos State, the state governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced the arrival of 3 brand new train sets, a total of 12 coaches for the Lagos Blue Line Rail, promising shorter wait times and more comfortable services for residents. The governor, who disclosed this in a Facebook post, noted that the development was another significant stride in the state's ongoing efforts to improve mass transit and reduce the daily stress of commuting across the state. He said this means shorter wait times and more comfortable trips for everyone using the Blue Line. It's a step forward in our efforts to make the daily commute in Lagos less stressful and more reliable. It would be recalled that the Blue Line Rail commenced operations in 2023 and currently runs from Marina to Mile 2. The Blue Rail Line started operations on September 4, 2023, running 12 trips daily. The governor also stated that work is ongoing to extend the line to Kokomaiko, with 2026 as the project completion target. Sanwo-Olu said the long-awaited project, which is finally taking shape, will transform the city's mobility for the better. The governor appreciated the citizens for their patience and hope. And that's it on Business News.
This is a Tax Talk, and we have an interesting topic to treat on Corporate Talk today. We will be looking at tax compliance and incentives for the manufacturing sector. We will look at issues such as the tax burden they face, simplifying tax compliance for the sector, collaborations between the government and the private sector, amongst other pertinent issues. To help us look into these very important issues, we have Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir, Director General, Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, as our guest today. Mr. Ajayi Kadir, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Before we start with our main questions, can we just talk briefly about manufacturing in Nigeria and where that sector is right now?
Thank you. To start with, the manufacturing sector is unarguably the most important sector in the productive space. In manufacturing, you actually attend to the needs of every Nigerian, and it cuts across all other sectors, whether it is mining, whether it is agriculture, whether it is the virtual economy. In fact, there are quite a number of things that the manufacturing sector covers. But to talk about the state of manufacturing in Nigeria, like most other sectors, the manufacturing sector is going through quite of a difficult time at this time. And just to say that the sector is not insulated from the challenges that confront the economy in general.
I see.
We are affected by quite a number of issues: the foreign exchange, the inflation, the fact that we do not have infrastructure that supports production, the fact that our trade and industrial policies are not focused on delivering a virile manufacturing sector, the fact that the global economy itself is suffering a backlash in terms of geopolitics and in terms of economic nationalism. All of these have imposed a lot of pressure on the manufacturing sector, to the extent that the sector contributes only between 9 to 11, 12% to the gross domestic product. It is also not able to generate the kind of employment that you'll have expected that it will generate, because after government, the manufacturing sector is the biggest employer of labor. So all of the challenges that we have has contributed to its rather lackluster performance in the Nigerian economy. But that is not to say that we are not manufacturing in Nigeria. There are quite a number of things that we manufacture in Nigeria. We even export to other African countries, and to Europe. I'm sure you are aware of the revolution that the Dangote industry has brought into the sector. It's a manufacturing company, and there are quite a number of industries that are actually blazing the trail in the Nigerian economy.
I would also like you to just inform us on the goods that are being manufactured currently in Nigeria presently.
Quite a lot. For instance, we refine fuel, we produce and export cement, we are very good in plastics. Our cables, electrical cables, are one of the best in the world. We produce and export leather. Of course, we produce garments. There are quite a number of things we do in the pharmaceutical industry, even in the steel sector, in the pulp and paper sector. There are quite a number of it. By the way, the manufacturing sector that I lead has 10 sectors and 60 subsectors. And we have manufacturers that produce in all these spheres. So we have quite an array of products that are produced in Nigeria. By the way, the safest thing to buy in Nigeria are products made in Nigeria, because you are sure they are very much regulated by NAFDAC, SON, and other regulatory agencies. So you are surer with buying made in Nigeria.
What role does Manufacturers Association of Nigeria play in ensuring its members remit personal income tax and other forms of taxes as required by the LRS to aid government funding in Lagos State?
Tax is one of the no-go areas for the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. We don't in any way support or tolerate any of our members not paying tax. And the reason is simple. It's actually enlightened self-interest, and I don't think we are doing any great thing. Because if you do not fulfill your own obligation, what right will you have to ask someone else to fulfill his own? I mean, if you don't pay tax, where do you expect government to get the money that is going to use to fund the roads we are asking, that is going to use to fund security, knowing how prone we are to insecurity in this country? So the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is intentional, and we do it across the country, all our 16 branches of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and at different levels and different structures in our organization. So we also collaborate. We have a very good relationship with the agency. And MAN, as an institution, we are one of the best taxpayers in this country. I'm very proud to say that. And all of us are committed to it. That's why anytime we are making demands of government, we do it in a very confident manner. And I want to encourage all Nigerians, particularly Lagosians, that this is an environment where government needs revenue, the prices are high, and Nigerians and Lagosians should ensure that government is not in any way hindered by non-payment of tax.
How would you describe the tax burden on manufacturers in Nigeria?
Okay, recently, there is a survey that MAN will normally conduct, and it is based, we call it Manufacturer CEOs Confidence Index. That's to measure how CEOs of more than 600 companies in Nigeria feel about the economy. One of the highest issues they raised, the one that commands the most, is multiplicity of taxes and levies. So tax is key to government revenue, but tax is also an obligation that businesses and individuals are expected to pay. But we have seen that in paying our taxes in Nigeria, we have come under immense pressure, both from state and non-state actors. Even the state actors, we have a proliferation and most times multiplication from either the federal government, the state, and the local government. We did a survey some time ago which indicated that the least number of taxes paid by an average manufacturer in Nigeria is 60. And we have some that pay as much as 120. In a state, and I don't know if it's okay to mention it, we actually have people putting their tax receipts in an album because it's there are too many to carry and just so you put them in albums and you just look for the agency that is relevant and you pay. So there are quite a number of issues, to the extent that some manufacturers that operate in the fringe and very small scale people do not even want to put their signboards to indicate that they are manufacturing. As important as tax is to government, it is also a burden that, if not controlled, it could spin out of control. So for us, we see tax as a necessity, but when it is excessive, not controlled, and there's infiltration by non-state actors, it becomes a real burden that can limit production.
What are the key challenges manufacturers face in complying with tax regulations, particularly regarding personal income tax for their employees?
Okay, for MAN, we have always preached that it is important that payee is taken seriously. And this is because we recognize that the federal government does not have any territory in the real sense of the word. Every company in Nigeria is located in a state or located in a local government. So payee is probably the best gains that the state in which you are located should have. So we take it very seriously, and we encourage our members at all times to make sure that they comply with payee. In terms of the challenges that we face, we cannot predict what we are going to pay. We also have the proliferation of agencies that demand tax. Some of them are regulatory agencies that are set up by government to control standards, for instance, or to control environmental issues, or to ensure compliance with corporate governance and the rest. But they turn to tax agents. And this is not specified in anywhere in their acts. But they come to your factories and they demand payments. We also have the issue of non-state actors that are either actively supported or they are tolerated by the government, and they infringe on our members. They even introduce the use of untoward tactics and means of collecting tax by putting nail spikes, for instance, on the road, closing your factory, seizing your trucks, removing their tires, and so on and so forth. So these are challenges that we see in terms of compliance. And when we do have disputes in terms of how much tax we are supposed to pay, the process is usually rigorous. That's why we are very, very excited about the tax bill, that it will be able to ensure an environment that brings predictability, fairness, and is going to hopefully banish the existence of non-state actors and proliferation and multiplicity of taxes and levies.
What do you propose tax authorities like the LRS and professional bodies could do to simplify tax compliance for manufacturers while ensuring government revenue targets are met? Okay,
yeah. Meeting government's revenue target is in everybody's interest. I mean, otherwise, the state will not be able to run its affairs, even the affairs of government and provision of utilities for the citizens. But there are quite a number of things that I think institutions like the LRS should do. They are probably one of the best tax administration institutions you can have in the country. It's sophisticated, it's using technology.
True.
And to a very large extent, they have been able to engage the citizen. I mean, otherwise, maybe I will not be sitting here today. But the truth of it remains that there is always the need for us to improve on education. There is need to expand the tax net rather than look for higher figures for already compliant citizens, corporate and individuals. So I believe that there is need for more education, and there is need to ensure that you have a much closer relationship and engagement with the taxpayers. Most taxpayers try to run away from paying tax because there's deficit trust for government. And so I believe that institutions like LRS should also be actively involved in encouraging the government of the day that they should be more open and transparent in the way they spend taxpayers' money, and to ensure that those who pay tax really get value for money. Because it is important, for instance, for budgets to be well publicized so that the expectations of the people can be met. you can easily use it to hold government to account. So I think that the tax authorities should not concern themselves with just the daily routine of collecting, assessing tax and collecting. They should go beyond that to work with governments to be able to demonstrate what is being done with those taxes. And there's also need for us to ensure that we move away from taxing poverty. There's no need for you to be running after small people who are struggling to make a living. Already they are poor and they need support. So I believe that if we are able to expand the tax net and ensure that people pay the right taxes that are due to them. There are so many Nigerians, for instance, that are not paying their taxes. In my organization, for instance, it's always a running battle. And the head of accounts is always defending the fact that we have to pay our tax to the last kobo.
That's good.
But we see so many other organizations where that is not done. And we have many other people that are outside of the tax net. So I think there has to be a conscious effort to bring in people into the tax net and to ensure that the use of technology removes human interface, because that is when the use of discretion can shortchange the government and even increase the tax burden and reduce the confidence of the citizens.
Mr. Ajayi Kadir, thanks for all you have said so far. I've learned quite a lot. But at this point, we need to go on a quick break. And we'll be right back, definitely.
Thank you.
The Tax Talk picks up right after this break. And Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir will definitely still be with us when we get back.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
You're still watching The Tax Talk. Today on Corporate Talk, we are shedding light on tax compliance and incentives for the manufacturing sector. Our guest is the Director General Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir. Thank you for standing by, sir. Could you shine more light on tax incentives in your sector?
Okay, so generally, tax incentives are used to direct government policy towards maybe a certain industry or to promote economic growth. And it's a worldwide concept. And there are quite a number of them that we have in Nigeria. We have the pioneer status, for instance. We also have the export expansion grant, which incentivizes export. We also have the infrastructure tax, and if you establish your industry, for instance, in far-flung places, rural areas, you are able to have some leverage. You have tax holidays that will allow you to that will incentivize you either to go into a particular sector that government wants you to go to, or if you are venturing into sectors that are preferred or defined by government, or you are the first comer in those areas, tax holidays are given you so that it softens your takeoff and your expansion. So all of these have been welcome developments in the manufacturing space, and most of our members have taken advantage of it, particularly those who engage in foreign direct investment. We participated actively in the tax reform, fiscal policy and tax reform committee of government. We were able to make a lot of submissions, and we have indicated that what is necessary is for you to tax the fruits and not the seed. So you do not tax the capital of a manufacturing industry. And there has been quite impressive response in this regard. For instance, the CIT, reducing CIT from 30% to 25%, which we hope will be sustained in the tax reform, is an indication that Nigeria is joining the trend all over the world, with both our competitors in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. So there is need for it to be sustained. We also have a need that the export expansion grant by government should be refocused. because that grant, for instance, has suffered one of the highest level of disruptions that you can have in terms of incentives to the manufacturing sector. So it should be streamlined in such a way that you can use the proceeds from there to be able to pay all tax obligations to government without any form of limitations, where you can deliberately incentivize manufacturers by not obliging them to pay untoward taxes that many regulatory agencies in Lagos State, for instance, have continued to impose on the people. You are aware of the challenge we had with the water regulation. And we are happy now that with LASEPA, we are making some progress in terms of being able to manage the relationship between LASEPA and NESRIA for our members not to be subjected to double regulation and having to pay more in terms of fees and taxes that are adduced to people. So those are the areas of cooperation that we have. And I also want to say that it's good that government allows the private sector to co-create what is relevant, what areas they will be able, the tax incentives they are giving will best affect their businesses. I believe that will be the best way for you to do, because it will not only encourage compliance, and government will have much more, but it will boost the confidence of people in the economy. And mind you, when anybody is going to come to invest in your country, the first thing they will do is not to look at government and listen to the encouragement they are giving and all they are asking, is to look for a manufacturer that is existing and on ground and ask, how are you doing? I mean, the best advertiser for you is a satisfied customer. So you should look to pleasing the companies that are there. And that's how to co-create a tax environment that is conducive for everyone.
Before we go, sir, any final thoughts?
Yes, first, I think I'd like to say that the LRS has always made us proud as people who live in Lagos. There is need for the agency to be interested in what the non-state actors are doing in Lagos State. I know that it's not an enforcement agency, but there's need for deliberate collaboration, because this is negatively impacting the business community, particularly manufacturers. Many of us have our trucks deterred from making supplies. Many of us have our raw materials not being able to reach our factories. Many of us are daily confronted by all sorts of demand for tax, both those that are remitted to government and those that are not remitted to government. So I think that LRS should step out of his space and be actively engaged in how we can overcome this challenge. I believe that is one demand that my executive secretaries, my colleagues in the Apapa and Ikeja branch have said that I must not come back to the office without saying. So I think I will deliver that as my last talk on the matter.
Mr. Ajayi Kadir, thank you for the time you spent so far on Corporate Talk today. Your wealth of knowledge is amazing. And from all of us at the Tax Talk, we want to say thank you and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We have learned from this discussion that tax defines the success of our economy. As a resident of Lagos State, the Tax Talk is your go-to infotainment program on all things tax-related in the state. Every week, we highlight relevant issues, policies, legislation, and more that affects a variety of sectors and taxpayers in general. Today was the turn of the manufacturing sector. The Tax Talk continues with more segments.
Welcome to another episode of Tax Your Brain. My name is Halima and I'll be taking you on the streets of Lagos.
One of the benefits of paying taxes is it helps the government to, pay civil servant salaries. Yeah. When we pay our taxes, civil servants get paid.
The benefit of paying tax in Lagos is majorly for infrastructural development, social benefits, and economic development, which is good for the states.
It's been an amazing time on the streets of Lagos. My name is Halima. Let's head back to the studio.
And with that, we have come to the end of the day's edition of the Tax Talk. I hope you learned something new, and I also hope you will put what you learned to good use as well. We will be back next week, same station, but with a different topic. I trust that you will have a productive time between now and then. My name is Oyinlola Saleh. See you next week.